Rebirth of the Strongest Empress, Chapter 12-15, page 4. Chapter 12, The Sea Family 1. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. But now, this emptiness was replaced by another power slowly. That warm and wet feeling was exactly how it felt when the spirit root was still inside her body. Yi Qingting opened her eyes wide in disbelief. A small spirit root was growing slowly inside her body again. Even though the size of the spirit root could not be compared with the supreme grade one she used to have, the fact that a new spirit root was growing made Yi Qingting extremely excited. From her past experiences, she knew how difficult it was to cultivate without a spirit root. Yi Qingting spent 300 years in her previous life trying to find ways to restore her spirit root in order to catch up with Yi Yu, but all her efforts were to no avail. Only God would know how precious it was for Yi Qingting to have the small spirit root growing inside her again. Yi Yu, you shall wait for my revenge. Yi Qingting touched her lower stomach gently. Her eyes were brightly lit with the flames of revenge. Around the same time Yi Qingting's spirit root was restored, a man who sat on the paragon seat opened his eyes suddenly in the Antiquity Palace. A blackish-green light sparkled in his eyes. Your Highness, Musu, who was standing at the bottom of the palace, noticed the sudden behavior of the man and came forward. The handsome man raised his eyes and looked outside the palace into the endless darkness, and his eyes shimmered. Set off to Lin Town now. Musu was stunned. Your Highness, is it? The heart of the demon god has appeared, the man said. He felt the familiar aura again after so long. The heart of the demon god finally appeared again. He would take back everything that belonged to him. The next morning, Yi Qingting woke up and was full of vigor. Having her spirit root back, she was in an extremely good mood. As long as she took care of the spirit root, she would be able to fight against Yi Yu in the future. Yi Qingting felt more confident about her revenge now that her spirit root was restored. Her plan was also altered accordingly. She needed to deal with the Great Elder, but she did not forget that her real enemy was Yi Yu. But now that Yi Yu was selected as the disciple of the Yongxiao sect by the sect master, Yi Qingting also needed to enter the sect to be qualified to fight Yi Yu. Yi Qingting had a plan up her sleeve. She put on her veil and walked out. Even though she restored her appearance, she did not plan to let others know about it so soon. Seeing Yi Qingting leaving her room, Yi Ling walked towards her worriedly. To his relief, it seemed that his daughter was not affected majorly by the annulment. Yi Qingting noticed her father and turned towards him. Father. Yi Ling nodded slightly. His eyes were filled with sympathy. Father, do you know about the third young master of the Sea family, Si Bai? Yi Qingting suddenly asked. Si Bai. Yi Ling was stunned for a second. The Si family was one of the greatest family clans in Lin Town. Unlike with the Duan family, the Si family was always not on good terms with the Yi family. Si Bai's mother died during labor, and it was found out that she was poisoned secretly. The Si family suspected that it was the Yi family that poisoned her. If not thanks to the help from the Duan family for the past few years, Yi family would have been in a fight with the Si family due to the resentment between the two families. Nevertheless, the two families were still not in good terms with each other. The Si Bai that Yi Qingting mentioned was the third young master of the Si family. He was the favorite grandson of the elder of the Si family clan. Si Bai was talented, and his spirit root was comparable with the supreme grade 1 of Yi Qingting. He was the #1 genius in Lin Town. However, Si Bai had been affected by the poisoning of his mothers as well, causing Si Bai to have a weak body ever since he was born. Chapter 13, The Si Family 2. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. There were master physicians that had mentioned that Si Bai would not live over 18 years. As such, the Si family spared no effort trying to extend the life of their third young master, the most precious member of the Si family. Yi Ling, having no idea why Yi Qingting mentioned Si Bai, said, Si Bai's condition has been not very stable recently. I heard that the Si family even invited Master Physician Shu over, but it did not seem to help. Master Physician Shu was a famous master physician in Lin Town. Countless people tried to seek for his help, but he rarely helped them. It all depended on his will to save a person. It was apparent that the Si family had spent a lot of effort to invite Master Physician Shu over. Yi Qingting nodded as if thinking of something and said, Father, I need to go out and buy something. I shall leave first. Yi Ling stared at Yi Qingting with confusion. What happened? Why did Yi Qingting want to go out alone? Was this a dream? It was well known that Yi Qingting was not willing to go out because of her birthmark. Even if she left the house, she would be inside a palanquin to hide herself from the public. How come today? Yi Qingtang suddenly changed? Yi Ling felt that her daughter had become another person after her spirit root was broken. She was totally different now. Then, be careful outside. Yi Ling was concerned about Yi Qingtang's safety, but seeing her newfound independence, he was more relieved than worried. After Yi Qingtang left the Yi family, she walked to the Si family slowly. Yi Qingtang had heard about the third young master of the Si family in her previous life. He was really an incredible genius. The Si family had tried always to extend his life, but he was only able to live to 25 years. Si Bai was extremely famous and reputable, and even Yi Yu did not dare to offend him. However, eventually Si Bai passed away, and Yi Yu took the chance to terminate the entire Si family along with the Yi family. To prevent similar situations from happening, Yi Qingtang was going to extend Si Bai's life. However, she was not just a kind person who wanted to offer help. She wanted to make a deal, one that could get her into the sect, with the Si family. Anyone not in the sect was as weak as an ant. One could only be considered truly strong after they stepped onto the path to heaven and entered the sect. Only then, they would be able to learn high-level skills and cultivate their spirit roots. Without joining the sect, one could never reach the paragon level no matter how much talent they possessed. The difference between a person in the sect and a normal person was insurmountable. Once a person entered the sect, they were entirely different from normal people. Any inner sect disciple had the power to dominate a part of the world. As such, it was extremely difficult to enter the sect. Simply being in the greatest family clans like the Yi family, or even the royal family, was not enough to qualify. It was easier to learn to fly through the skies than to qualify to enter the sect. Yi Yu was recognized by the sect and was able to enter thanks to the supreme grade spirit root she had snatched from Yi Qingtang. From there, Yi Yu learned millions of skills in the sect and reached the paragon level. In contrast, Yi Qingtang in her previous life put in a lot of effort in her training and eventually reached the paragon level as well, but her abilities were still completely incomparable to Yi Yu's. However, now that she was given a second chance, Yi Qingtang raised her eyes and stared at the door of the Si family. A cold smile appeared on her face. The Si family was able to introduce people to the sect. If she could seize the opportunity and enter the sect, she would be one step closer to defeating Yi Yu. Chapter 14, The Si Family 3. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. This was what Yi Qingtang needed the most. It was the first step to her revenge towards Yi Yu. The servants of the Si family blocked the way as they saw Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang raised her eyebrows slightly. She smiled and spoke the first sentence that would change her fate in this life. Tell your master, I have a way to save your third young master. Master Si frowned and stared at the handsome young man in the hall. His eyes were full of concern. It was heartbreaking for him to witness how pale the young man was. He then asked Master Physician Shu, who was monitoring the pulse of the young man. Master Physician Shu, my third grandson's health. Master Physician Shu was more than 50 years old, and his skills were renowned in the world. However, he shook his head. The poison in the third young Master Si was obtained when he was a fetus. The poison is deep inside him, and it is impossible to remove. After hearing Master Physician Su's words, Master Si's face was as white as a sheet. His heart dropped to the bottom of the valley. Meanwhile, Si Bai sat on his chair and adjusted his sleeve calmly. His nonchalant attitude made it seem as if he did not care how long he had to live. Instead, he tried to comfort his grandfather. Grandfather, I'm all right. You don't need to worry that much. Seeing his grandson's pale face, Master Si felt as if a knife were being twisted in his heart. He felt immense resentment. All right? How can you be all right? If only the Yi family didn't bribe someone to poison your mother when she was pregnant, she wouldn't have died, and you wouldn't have to suffer from the ice toxin as a result. Grandfather, there's no evidence to prove that the Yi family poisoned my mother. Si Bai sighed softly. Master Si sneered. Evidence? If there were evidence, I would have wiped out the entire Yi family long ago. How would I be able to tolerate their unbridled behaviors? Si Bai kept quiet. At that moment, one of the Si family's servants rushed in and repeated the words that Yi Qingtang had said outside. She has a way to save my third grandson. Master Si mocked in anger. The Yi family is getting more and more presumptuous. I haven't troubled them at all, and now they dare to come to me. Good. Let her in. If she cannot save my third grandson, I'll use the young lady of the Yi family to settle my resentment. Sibai frowned as he knew how resentful his grandfather was towards the Yi family. Grandfather, the young lady of the Yi family is still very young. Sibai said. Grandson, you don't need to care about this. I know what to do, Master Si replied in a deep voice. Sibai sighed as he could not persuade his grandfather. He looked towards the entrance of the hall as if he was thinking about something. Soon, a servant of the Si family led a young lady with a veil into the hall. When Sibai's sight was on the young lady, he was stunned for a moment. He had heard of the rumor of the Yi family's young lady before. The rumor said that she was weak, ugly, and wore a veil all the time. Today, he understood that the rumor was wrong. The lady was very young and calm. Even though the veil covered her appearance, her eyes were bright and clear. Sibai did not believe that a lady with such bright eyes would be an ugly person. He did not believe that such a calm lady would be weak at all. Yi Qingtang, who had just stepped into the hall, seemed to notice Sibai's sight. She raised her eyes subconsciously, and her pair of bright eyes gazed upon the handsome young man. When the two made eye contact, a breathtaking smile was seen on Sibai's face. He nodded at Yi Qingtang. Chapter 15, The Si Family 4. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Yi Qingtang raised her eyebrows slightly. If she remembered correctly, the ice toxin that plagued Sibai and caused the death of his mother had always been thought of as the doing of the Yi family. Yet, why is it that this person was still smiling at her? In reality, the Si family's guess was not wrong. The poison used to kill Sibai's mother was indeed the doing of the Yi family. However, this had nothing to do with Yiling. This entire scheme was, in fact, secretly done by the great elder of the Yi family. This was only made known to Yi Qingtang when she was on the run in her previous life. Including her previous life, this was her first time seeing Sibai, who, as rumored, was an elegant and talented youth whose handsome face was abnormally pale. Looking away from him into the strict-looking old man seated in the center, she greeted. Grandfather Si. The master of the Si family clan scoffed. No matter how outstanding the looks of the girl in front of him, his hatred towards the Yi family could never be erased. I am not your grandfather. Do not address me in any way you like. So tell me, Yi Qingtang, you said that you are able to save my third grandson. Yes, Master Si, she replied with a small laugh while completely paying no attention to his animosity. This was because she understood the reason behind his resentment. The elder master held the same family name Yi. Looking over her thin frame with disdain, Master Si bellowed, Yi Qingtang, I don't care if you are the young lady of the Yi family. Do you know of the potential outcomes of your audacity to spout nonsense at the Si family door today? Yi Qingtang clearly sensed his hostility towards her, yet she disregarded it and replied with a smile, since I dared to come, it naturally means I am confident. Isn't it arbitrary of you to claim that I am spouting nonsense when you have not heard what I am going to say? Arbitrary, Master Si scoffed. The Si family has looked for famous physicians all over the world to treat my third grandson. You are only 15 this year, and I have never heard of the Yi family having any medical attainments, so where did you find the confidence to speak this way? Although Master Si allowed Yi Qingtang to come in, he had never at all believed she could really save Sibai. All he wanted to do was to vent his anger, and even if he couldn't kill Yi Qingtang, he had to make the Yi family pay a price. Grandfather, since young lady Yi came here personally, I believe she is definitely prepared. Why don't you let her try since you have already let her in? Sibai, who had been standing aside all along, said suddenly. This was to help Yi Qingtang. Master Si clearly did not expect his own grandson to speak up for Yi Qingtang. Instantly, his face darkened, and his brows wrinkled. Yi Qingtang had already prepared what to say to persuade Master Si, yet the third young master actually helped her out of the predicament before she needed to say anything. This unforeseen situation slightly baffled Yi Qingtang, and she could not help but look at the beautiful young man with a smile in her eyes. Sibai was actually quite kind. Sibai only politely returned Yi Qingtang a smile. He did not want his grandfather to be angry over an immature young lady. Nonsense, Master Si was clearly in disapproval. Sibai let out a small laugh. Just as he was about to say something, Yi Qingtang responded, I'm already in the territory of the Si family. If I make any errors, Master Si can question me anytime. Even if I do have any ulterior motives, I won't take my own life as a joke, right?